Hi, OWN family. I'm Tambra Cherie from Belle Collective, and you are watching OWN's 20 Questions. I actually found out I had fibroids in my 20s. I will never forget. I was on a plane coming from Miami on an amazing trip. And I remember it was like yesterday. I was on a plane, I was sitting there and my side was just hurting. And I was like, okay, maybe it's something I've eaten. Maybe it's something I've, done while I was in Miami, moving around so much, walking so much. You do a lot of walking. And that was not the case. I remember the next day I was working. I still had this pain in my side. I'm like, what's going on? I called the doctor. I told him about it. And he was just like, just come in. I drove myself to the doctor's office. When I went to the doctor's office and when he touched, it hurt. It hurt. And I'm like, what is going on? Because the pain was just getting worse. And I remember him saying to me, he didn't call it a fibroid initially. He said, you have a mass. And he says, I am very surprised you have not felt this before. That day, he admitted me in the hospital. And I still did not hear the word fibroid. All I was told is that I have a mass. That's it. I remember being in the hospital. Very next day, I had emergency surgery because it was the size of a cantaloupe. And he was like, I'm sorry, you're in pain. And, he was still calling it a mass. I didn't hear the word fibroid until after my first surgery, that's what it was. It was fibroids. But that's how I learned I had fibroids. I had none of the symptoms that people usually have. I did not have, all of the heavy periods, the painful periods. I didn't have those symptoms. I found out I had fibroids right the day before I had to have my first fibroid surgery. I will say this initially, because I have been a public figure for so long as far as in radio and some of the things I do in entertainment, I was always keeping my private life private. But now I realize with this fertility journey, that it was not just about me. It's about so many other women. There are millions of women out there that go through fertility issues that have fibroids, So being able to share, it has not been hard for me. I thought that part would be hard, but it hasn't. And I realized why. And that's just because I'm helping other people. That's because I'm inspiring other women. And that's important to me. As long as I can help someone else, inspire someone else, motivate someone else, or give them hope, I'm good. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. And that's the point for me. So I'm good. So it's been easier. That part has been easy for me just because I know I'm helping other women. I remember after my first fibroid surgery, I remember the doctor telling me, if you had been doing ultrasounds, we would have caught this. I remember that. I did not know you can go to the doctor and ask for an ultrasound. I thought that was something for pregnant women. They never offered me an ultrasound. And I always remember that because I'm like, I have to be an advocate for myself and for my own health. I can't leave it up to a doctor because I had been a patient of this doctor for a very long time. And I'm like, if I would have been getting ultrasounds, you're my doctor, saying you would have caught this. I always remember that. So now I am a very big advocate for women, advocating for your health. If you think you have a fibroid, ask for an ultrasound. And that's what I wish I would have known, because now I get them a lot because I want to stay on top of my fibroids. Now I go to the doctor. Yes, if you can't see this, let's do an ultrasound to make sure, so being an advocate for your own health. That's what I learned on this journey. And getting with a doctor who actually listens to you and understands you and cares That is important. And just being an advocate for your own health. I learned that. When I first found out I was pregnant, I was still in shock. I was surprised because, and let me say this, because I know friends who have done IVF before, and it didn't take the very first time. And I was prepared for that. I had prayed about it, I was prepared. If it did not take, then that meant it's not the time, or it's not right now. I was prepared for that because I did a lot of praying about it. So when I received a phone call that, you're pregnant, it took the very first time, I knew that that's God. That's all God. And I was still in disbelief, to be honest. I was in disbelief not years, but I was in disbelief days later, months later. I was still in disbelief, but I was just thankful. I was thankful, grateful, and I was here for the journey. The best piece of advice I have received so far about motherhood, because it's a little rough in the beginning with the newborn, and I do mean lack of sleep. That is what I'm talking about. No one told me I had to literally every 3 hours get up feedings like clockwork all throughout the night. Okay, they left that part out. No one told me about that. But the best advice that I have received, that it gets better. It gets better. It does. And you're sleep deprived. You're tired. And they're like, it gets better. And they're right. It did. So I would honestly say the best advice I've received so far, it gets better. You get through those challenges, and they are absolutely right. Best advice so far, because there's a lot of advice, but that's the best one so far. Honestly, if I'm just being very transparent, it's not about you. It's not about you. You have someone else depending on you. You have one person in this world that is absolutely depending on you. To me, that is a huge responsibility. Does that make me nervous? Yes, that makes me nervous. But I'm excited at the same time. I'm excited because I do love challenges. I want to make my daughter proud. I want her to know that I am here for her throughout everything. And so I'm excited, but it does make me nervous because I know she is depending on me. Initially, I thought I wanted to be a school teacher. Initially, I would line those dolls up and I was trying to teach those dolls. I would get my grandparents involved. I was trying to teach them, and I was trying to do it all. But then, if you just want me to be totally honest, I started seeing talk shows. I started seeing a talk show host. Honey, I wanted to be Oprah. So yes. So it depends. This is how I started out. And then here along comes talk show host. And that was my dream job. My major at Jackson State University was actually marketing and management. I have an MBA degree. My major was not initially mass communications, although now I do go back and talk to mass communications departments. But initially, no, I graduated with an MBA degree. I initially started interning in college at a radio station, and I fell in love with radio. I thought I was going to be in corporate America because at the time, my major was marketing and management. I remember interning at a corporation that was in Nebraska. I remember interning there. I would finish the work so fast, I would start looking up entertainment news. And that's how my pastime, looking up entertainment news, listening to music. My body was there. My mind was not. So when I interned at a radio station, I fell in love. I loved being around the music. I loved being around the personalities, the energy, entertainment news. I knew then this was home. I loved it. It took me interning one time to know this is what I want to do. And I've been doing it ever since. And there has never been a plan B. Plan A, this was it. This has to work because this is what I love to do. You know what? I have a very long list of people that I have loved to interview, but one would be Russell Simmons. And I've interviewed him a couple of times, and I'm going to tell you why, because that's like a pioneer of hip hop. I remember sitting down with him for an entire hour and a half that he took out of his day. And the first interview was by a pool, and he opened up. We talked one-on-one, and the stories that he was telling me about as far as when it comes to hip hop, you know, I was intrigued. I was learning, you know, so that's one of my favorite interviews. I would definitely have to say another favorite would be Kevin Liles. And that's because that's another pioneer of hip hop and entertainment and music, you know, the knowledge they had when, you know, he remembers when I think Jay-Z was carrying crates, you know, some of the greats of hip hop now, you know, so listening to his stories and the stories that he tells, and he has an amazing story. I love to see people when they start interning at the company and they become a CEO. I love those stories. You know, I like to hear from the beginning. So those would be two of my most memorable interviews that I remember. And that's just because they talked about the beginning of hip hop and what it was like. So that was intriguing. I always remember that. So those two would be at the top of the list. If we had to go to artist, I would probably say he's not here anymore. If you talk about rap artists, I would talk about Pimp C. And he's not here anymore. But he gave me something that was a very intriguing interview. It's very interesting for sure. And it was an hour long as well. And there's just so many. There's so many, but those really do stick out immediately because they were just so in-depth conversations. I wanted to share with other people how you can become better in areas of your life and how I became better. I wanted to share that journey. Because sometimes, you know, you have to share the story. It's not about keeping to yourself. It's about sharing with others and helping others and inspiring others, trying to motivate others. And I'm really big on that. And I'll be honest, I initially thought about writing it years ago. And I was like, oh, I'll wait. And then things started happening in my life. And I'm like, what is going on? Wait. And I realized it's because I'm not following an assignment that God told me to do. I am not following his assignment. Things will start happening in your life until you realize, like, okay, God told me to do this years ago. He's like, I've given you an assignment to do. You haven't done it yet. When I wrote my book, I really believe that was God-given assignment for me. I want you to inspire others, help others the best you can. Tell them how you did it. Tell them, you know, so that was the thing for me. That was the thing. I should never forget this. But I do believe it was a God-given assignment for me to write that book. I am most proud of myself. And it's not necessarily a moment. It's more moments. I like making my parents proud. When my dad looks at me and tells me, I am proud of you, that's when I'm proud of myself, you know? Because I know that they've been along this journey my entire life, you know, even if they didn't necessarily agree, because they really didn't understand like radio and entertainment and all of that, you know, and they trusted me. They just trusted me. So when my dad tells me I am proud of you, I'm very proud of myself. It's those moments. I like making other people proud of me that I love. I really do. When my mom says that she's proud of me, that makes me proud. That makes me proud of myself. I remember I was actually at home when I received the call I was going to be on Belle Collective. My process went very fast. And I remember being home because it was during COVID. So I was actually working from home at the time. And when I received the phone call that they loved me. I was very excited. I was excited because you have to understand, for me, and I don't know if I've shared this story with my own family, but for me, growing up from Mississippi, first and foremost, I am a journalist. Oprah is who I watched all the time, all the time. I used to watch her interviews as a child and growing up. I watched her. In 2019, on my vision board, I had owned, and I have a picture of Oprah. This was in 2019, and that was because I had the book Surrounded by Sin, Grounded by Love. I knew Oprah had a book club. I was thinking that God had way much more. So, it was the network. I wasn't even thinking network at that time. So for me to get a call and say I would be on Oprah Winfrey's network, that was huge for me. As a journalist from Mississippi, someone you watch, that is huge. So it touched my heart in different ways. I was very excited. My favorite part of filming Belle Collective is definitely the good times, okay? It's definitely the good times when we get together and we really do have a good time. That's the favorite part of Belle Collective. And also when you get a chance to film with family and friends, and you're having a good time and events, that's the fun part. That's my favorite part about filming Belle Collective. When we get together and we really do have a good time, we get to showcase, different events that we're doing. We get to showcase with different restaurants we're eating. I love that part of Belle Collective. I do. We're getting along and we're having a great time. That is the fun part. And then when you do get to film with family and friends, that's fun. So I love that part of filming Belle Collective. Be prepared. Be prepared, because it can be a roller coaster. So just be prepared. Be yourself. Be prepared. It can just be a roller coaster of emotions. It can, but have a good time at the same time. I think this season of Belle Collective will reveal that I had hope. I think it reveals that I am still a person that believes in protecting your peace. I am still a person of integrity. I am still a person that believes in protecting women, sisterhood. I believe in that. I really do. And this season, you still see, I do believe in that. And you'll get to see some very transparent moments in my personal life, because you get to go along this journey with me when it comes to motherhood and why I had to make some tough decisions in my life. You will get to see while I believe in choosing you and what's best for you and your health. You will get to see all of those things. You'll get to see a few surprises. First person who is not here anymore, my ultimate interview that I wanted to interview was Michael Jackson. That was my ultimate interview. It was. That's who I really wanted to have a sit down with, was Michael Jackson. Now, if I could have dinner with someone alive, you have to think about it. I'm a media personality from Mississippi. I grew up watching Oprah. It's Oprah. It's the journey. I had a bracelet that I wear all the time. I know in season 1 of Belle Collective, you could see it. I used to wear it all the time, but it says WWOD, and it meant, what would Oprah do? I knew what Jesus would do, but I used to wear the bracelet, what would Oprah do? Because she always carries herself with so much class. And I remember watching her interviews, and I wouldn't necessarily know at such a young age, the people she was interviewing. I was watching how she was interviewing. So, that's someone I looked up to. So having dinner, one-on-one conversation, it's Oprah. Okay, when it comes to fashion, I feel like everything is coming back. I feel like it's coming back, or it has came back. I really do. I really do. Even a sequence bell bottom pants that I used to see, I actually saw someone with those on not too long ago. So I think that's a fashion trend now. I didn't even realize had come back. I could have probably thought the bell bottoms could stay in the past, but hey, so it is. I guess it's back and it's here to stay. So I would probably have to say that the bell bottom, the big bell bottom pants. I saw someone with them on not too long ago. And I don't know if you guys remember the MC Hammer pants, but the MC Hammer pants, I even saw those coming back, but I wasn't a big thing. They can keep MC Hammer pants. So, yeah, I'm good on that. If I was stranded on an island with only one album to listen to, it would be something gospel, because I would need to stay grounded. I would need to stay hopeful. I would need to stay motivated and inspired and all of those things. It would probably be some Kirk Franklin, the best of, because I would need all of that if I'm stranded on an island. Yes, I do. I have been called sunshine for a very long time since I was a little girl. People always called me sunshine. I have some DJs right now that call me sunshine. And that's because they always felt like when I walk in the room, I bring the sun, I bring energy. So they say I am a light when I walk in the room, so I own that now. Yes, I do. I've always been called sunshine for a very long time. That's the little nickname. Thanks for watching, OWN family. Make sure to watch Belle Collective every Friday at 9, 8C, only on OWN.